have to actually resign? Do I
From
have
what?
to actually from,
I-
I'm resigning,
Not until
Not until
after
after
the
December
meeting.
14th.
but can I still stay at, no, I'm kidding. Oh, December 14th, I actually resign.
Yeah, you have to. Wow. Now
And you better cut that out.
Are we live?
We are live.
Yeah, we're live.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, who's watching? The
Hey,
question
None of that was on.
am I the chair of this committee?
Is anybody
is,
watching?
Mike is.
Mike is the chair.
Call it to order, man.
All right. Is it time?
Yes,
All
sir.
I would like to call this meeting to order of the Governance Committee of the Tompkins County Industrial Development Agency. Who's here? Mike Sigler is here.
Rich John is here.
Faith Barbara is here.
I know Arthur's here.
Heather McDaniel is here.
Do we have anybody watching online here?
I don't know.
Can't we tell that? I would
No.
thought we could tell that.
Someone
All right.
calling us saying.
Is somebody trying to dial in? No. All right. So it's just us three. All right.
First order of business today. You want an agenda?
I do. I'm nominally the chair. I follow what you guys. Code of Ethics and Conflict of Interest Policy for the TCIDA. That is our first order of business.
So we do have an existing code of ethics policy. And this year, it's been 3 years since we had an attorney review all of our policies and procedures. We put into our budget this year to have Bob Bryan at Harris Beach review all of those policies and procedures. Bob was pretty integral in setting up a lot of the IDA legislation. He understands it inside and out. So we really value his input. He went through all of our policies and procedures and determined that our code of ethics policy needed to be updated. PAAA, which is the Public Authorities Accountability Act of New York State, requires a code of ethics that is at least as stringent as the New York State Public Officers Law, and ours was not. So he revised it for us. It's really a code of ethics and conflicts of interest policy together. So what you have in your packet is a drafted new code of ethics and conflict of interest policy.
So is everything changed or is it just something very specific that has?
Can I see this,
Yeah,
Ina?
for sure.
Sorry.
No worries.
I'm looking at the old policy going, this doesn't look right. It has changed.
Yeah, I looked at it and I couldn't tell what the changes were.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Yeah, I couldn't. Here's our old policy. It talks about standards of conduct and gifts and confidential information and disclosure. And
It
that's
looked
about it.
like it made sense.
This is more robust. It meets with the New York State Public Officers Law, as well as any guidance that comes from the Authorities Budget Office on IDA best practices.
I would move its acceptance.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Oh, that's you.
Oh. Okay. Well, we haven't voted yet. $75. So we can take gifts up to $75. That I think is bizarre. I would think that's a lot. But okay,
Maybe a lunch or I don't know.
maybe that's inflationary. Mugs are $45 now. Notice.
Well, I think because it's a New York State policy, you have to take into account New York State.
Yeah.
Valid point. Maybe that's what a lunch is now, $75. I don't know. But anyway, okay, that's fine. Conflicts of interest. So nothing jumps out of you that's really different?
I mean, I read it, it makes sense to me. Sometimes there's legalese that I don't understand and have to ask for clarification, but this seemed pretty straightforward. The one modification I did recommend was that we include the conflict of interest in the title. Because he kept referring interchangeably to code of ethics and conflict of interest, and I was so confused. thinking that they were two separate policies, so I did ask the attorney to add both of those into the heading.
Do we have an ethics officer?
My assumption is that we would need to appoint one. Yes, the agency's board shall designate an officer, director of, or employee of the agency to serve as the ethics officer.
Okay. I'm good with all this. If you guys are, I mean, if you're not, then I guess vote against it or make the change and we can do that. So. You tell me when you're ready, Rich.
I'm ready.
Wow, all right. Well, then all those in favor of this new ethics policy, please, do we need roll call? What do we need? No. Raise your hand. That's 3 ayes, 0 no's. So we'll move this on to the full idea.
Yeah, and I wonder if you want to make a recommendation about appointing an ethics officer.
I think it would make sense either you or I.
Mhm.
Listen,
Because that's what it says, right?
yeah, that we are gonna.
Right.
Executive committee member or a board member.
Doesn't have to be. And the thing is, we change over time.
Mhm.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, we could do that, but
Well, and it does say in the case of a vacancy that I,
Mhm.
the administrative director, would be the ethics officer. So I'm fine assuming that responsibility if the board wants to act on that recommendation.
okay, we'll put it to a vote on.
Yeah.
Our meeting.
Yep.
All right. Number 2, authority budget. We're ready for number 2, right?
Yeah.
Authority budget office, a guidance checklist.
You have that in your packet. You know, I just wanted to report that, you know, we have a lot of administrative policies and then project-based policies and procedures. Bob Ryan did review all of our policies and procedures and found everything to be in compliance, with the exception of the code of ethics and code of conduct policy. He also reviewed everything on our website. PAAA, again, the Public Authorities Accountability Act, requires that IDAs maintain a lot of things on their website. I provided the checklist for you to see just the scope and breadth of the information that is required on our website. The only thing that was missing was somewhere the link to the general municipal law that authorizes IDAs from 1973 had been broken. So we put that back up. And then the only document that was actually missing was the code of conduct and ethics policy.
So
So
this was his checklist.
yes, clean bill of health. This is the state's checklist when the authority's budget office comes in and does an audit of an IDA, they'll use this checklist as well. So looking at other IDAs, I think ours is like the easiest to find things, has the most documents. I've never seen another IDA that had as clean an audit from the ABO in terms of documents on the website. So I think it's just really testament to our commitment to transparency and, you know, providing information on our website. You can get any project agreement, any pilot agreement for any active project, any amendments, all the public hearing materials, all of our policies, all of our procedures, everything is up there. All of our public hearing notices, meeting notices, minutes, agendas. Thank you, Ina.
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
keeping us on top. I just wanted to present that. And then the last thing in your agenda is minutes from the last meeting.
All right. So you weren't here. I'll move the minutes.
were here.
Yeah, I'll move the minutes from the
I
last.
can still move them, but
You can move.
you can move them.
Move it by Rich David, second by Dave.
Okay.
All those in favor of the minutes? Cool.
I will just add, I do need to make some updates to the enhanced energy policy. I've been working with project applicants to make sure that they're meeting the intent of the policy. But the policy was put in place with the dates a little bit different than what the city's green building code. And really the idea is incentivizing projects that will be one step ahead of the code. The code is changing in January. So I have alerted applicants and, I need to just sit down with the policy. The energy stuff is just not a language that I speak on a regular basis. So probably in the new year, I'll be updating that, and maybe the housing committee will take a look at the housing policy and see how that's going. But other than that, I don't really have anything on my agenda for now that needs to be taken care of in terms of policy, unless there's anything that this group would like to see done next year.
I have something actually.
Okay.
We talked about this, but I wanted to tell you but anyway, I feel that we need a micron policy, not a policy. I think that the legislature needs to invest some money. Yeah, and I know right now we're trying to do this whole, we're going to have this task force and they're going to figure out our arrangement with TCAD and whatever, because we do that every 5 years. Before that even happens, I would say to the legislature, we need to put X amount of dollars towards. It may not even be hiring somebody. It may be hiring somebody. I just feel like we're going to get behind, and we're not behind because Cornell is working on this. But it's kind of like I don't feel from the legislature that we are kind of, not that we're not aware of it. But I'm looking at Cayuga County and they've got somebody who's that's their focus. Now, granted, they're right down 5 and 20, right? And they're right down 690. So, and they're an extension of Central New York. But if Binghamton's not looking at this down 81, then that's malpractice on their part. The same thing with Cortland. If they're not looking at this going, we're right down 81, but what can we provide? Ryan, he's talking about many communities now up there that they're going to build from nothing. Because they don't have the housing. Now we don't have the housing either, but I don't know. I just, that's $100 billion investment over the next 20 years.
What do you see our relationship here looking like?
I would say you need somebody within this organization. I think you are our development arm. I am committed to that. I know there are certain other legislators who may not be as committed to that as I am, but I am committed to that. I would think that we need somebody. We used to meet with Cornell bi-monthly or monthly, I forget what it was. And then we kind of moved it to quarterly, and I don't think we do that anymore. And we probably haven't since COVID. But we kind of need somebody to either do that or pull that together and start that again, because Cornell is already involved. They've got people working to give them the knowledge for Micron, right? The workers, they need X amount of workers, and Cornell can be a functionary of that. But they're not, Cornell's, I don't know if they could do it all on their own. TC3, if they're not starting up, because Onondaga College they've got programs already in place, because not every worker is going to be this, a lot of this.
Significant amount of money that is going into training, a significant investment in Onondaga Community College to put in a simulated clean room that's similar to what Micron has to do training up there. TC3 isn't going to be able to do that. They're not going to get that kind of funding. Is there a role for TC3? Absolutely. So Ithaca Area Economic Development, the countywide economic development agency, is actively meeting with our partners in Onondaga County that are managing all of the state and federal funding to support the Micron build out. We have a meeting with them next week to start talking about our role and how we can help support the activities that are going on up there. Workforce development, both short-term construction labor, you've got the 81 highway project as well as Micron construction that will be going on at the same time. How do we, and they don't have enough labor for that.
Right.
Long-term, the entry level and higher level workforce. I mean, Cornell is going to play a big role in probably the engineering and higher level kinds of workforce, but entry level workforce, there's certainly additional roles in terms of workforce for us to play, as well as housing or supply chain. So, the first step was really to connect with our partners that are managing all of these resources. When we have a better understanding of what's needed, where the gaps are, how we can help to fill those gaps, we will start bringing in other partners here in Tompkins County. It could be BOCES, TC3, it could be housing organizations, so again, short-term labor, long-term labor, housing, supply chain industries. We're looking into that. And, that's one of the things that we do as an economic development agency. Are we going to be able to buy land and build housing? Probably not. Are we going to be able to put sewer in Lansing? Probably not. But I think there's significant opportunity in Groton and Dryden, maybe in parts of Lansing, to capitalize on some of this.
Right.
So we will, we want to get some understanding. Tompkins County's housing prices are higher than surrounding counties, which has always made it difficult in this community. We're not on a highway, we're not on a rail line. So in terms of business attraction, we haven't done a lot of business attraction. It's been more business retention, expansion. But some of it could even be identifying existing companies in Tompkins County that can provide resources to Micron as they developed. Is it caterers? Is it, food service? Is it legal teams? There's really a lot to understand around all of this. And I was talking a little bit about some of our barriers. Another one of the barriers is that we don't have a business and technology park where you can do, significant manufacturing processing for new business. Existing business have access to energy infrastructure to allow for those processes. But we have a moratorium right now in Lansing where our business park is. So where Cayuga County has a business park that's ready to go, that their county has invested significant funds in over time, and has marketed that park for new companies, we're at a disadvantage. We don't have that. When the Micron deal was being put together, all the counties were contacted and said, okay, what kind of shovel-ready business park sites do you have? Well, Cayuga counties went in there, Cortland counties went in there. Tompkins doesn't have one.
Right.
So we weren't able to submit based on their needs. So this much water and sewer capacity, this much natural gas and electricity capacity. We didn't have anything to submit.
Right.
So, you say Cayuga County is ahead of the curve. They're ahead of the curve because they have resources.
Right.
So, that's one of the things that we'll be trying to identify is what resources do we have to bring to the table and how can we compete with, locations that might be a little bit closer, a little bit less expensive. The other thing, Micron is to the north, to the south. We have the Build Back Better initiative, which is a battery storage initiative. This was one of 21 federally funded cluster initiatives across the United States. Binghamton University is the lead. IAED is also participating in a regional group around that as well. So there is significant opportunity to the north and to the south with the research and development and capacity that Cornell has. There will be activity here. There will be supply chain activity here in Tompkins County with the battery storage project. So, you know, as an economic development agency, those are the kinds of things that we are actively, you know, involved in and participating in.
And I'm not putting this on you. I am putting this on the legislature.
And I appreciate the legislature, you're saying the legislature should just give money, but give money.
I didn't really say that, but
But put aside money for what? I mean, when we have something specific, I would be happy to go to the legislature and say, okay, if we want to do this, this is how much it's going to cost. We can get federal funding or state funding to do this piece. Can you put in the match, or, you know, can you help facilitate some of this funding?
well, I just don't know if maybe we as a legislature should even advocate, listen, we want a new natural gas line put into Lansing, and the stipulation will only be used for industrial uses. I mean, that's not what I want. I would like everybody to be able to hook up to natural gas, but if that's if that's the sandwich I have to eat so that we get natural gas so that we can have the clean room, then yeah, I mean, then that's the direction we should go. I just think we as a county kind of, and the state frankly is at a crossroads of where do we want to be? I mean, if you want things to keep going the way they've been going, and then, okay, then we do nothing. But if you want to embrace Micron and the battery storage and that really would be the future, then I would think we would invest in that, because I would like to keep Borg Warner for the next 20 years and not next 7 years or so.
Yeah.
So, okay. But really, I'm just saying, I just need to know what you need, basically. All right. I don't know.
Well, and we're working
I
on
don't know where you are.
trying to identify that. So,
No, I'd love to take advantage of the Micron opportunity. It's not clear to me yet what that is for Tompkins County. But I agree with you 100%. We should try to find out. And if there is opportunity, it would be stupid, I believe, to not go for it.
It's right there.
Yeah, yeah. But it sounds like that is happening, that we are learning. My sense is because of the existing conditions of lack of resources and distance and everything else, probably the best opportunity for us will be connected to the high-end jobs where you've got real intelligence at Cornell, maybe Ithaca College. High-end.
but I think there will be a role for TC3 to play, and even BOCES in terms of training, because OCC won't be able to do it all. And, you know, given the population and the population growth in upstate New York, you know, we know that they're not going to be able to meet all the needs just in Clay, New York. Like, it's going to have to be a regional initiative. And so that's where we're really excited to be partnering with agencies that we've worked with for many years.
I would also like to point out that clearly this is all attached to having a zoo. Syracuse has a Micron. Binghamton has a zoo. Battery storage built back better.
What you want a zoo.
We need a zoo.
We used to have.
Did we really?
Really? Yeah.
Where did we have a zoo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were part of the zoo.
Huh, who knew?
Okay.
Couldn't even keep our zoo.
Does someone want a motion to end this meeting?
Second.